You just were watching Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu address Israel and the Israeli people today, or this evening, I should say, in that part of the world. He gave three reasons for this pending ceasefire agreement that we're told is just moments away from being signed. The three reasons for it was to focus on the Iranian threat, allow Israeli forces to refresh and resources to replenish, and also disconnect the two arenas and isolate Hamas in this greater conflict and put greater pressure on Hamas to release the hostages over in Gaza, in that part of the region. Let's bring in CBS News contributor Robert Berger. He is in Jerusalem for us. Robert, just give me your reaction to what Bibi Netanyahu just said.
Well, it was something of a victory speech, and he was also trying to reassure a skeptical Israeli public. He listed all the things that Israel has done in this war, crippled Hezbollah. He said, quote, they've set Hezbollah back decades. He mentioned blows that Israel has inflicted on the Houthis, as well as Houthis in Yemen, as well as Hamas in Gaza. And he said that he understands that people are skeptical, that people here fear that Hezbollah could rearm because basically the group has been damaged but not destroyed. But he said, if Hezbollah breaks this ceasefire deal, Israel will respond.
Yeah, he mentioned that this doesn't mean the fighting is necessarily over. But Robert, I want to go through kind of the specifics of this deal, because if officially signed, the fighting would stop immediately, right? And then it would take a while, though, for these troops to withdraw on both sides of the border there. Can you explain that a little bit?
Right. So this is a 60-day ceasefire that will probably take place immediately. I mean, Netanyahu says he's bringing it to the cabinet, and it's going to pass. So then there's going to be a gradual withdrawal of Israeli troops. It'll take 10 days, according to U.S. officials, for the first Israeli withdrawal to take place. The reason being, apparently, that Lebanon's army, which is due to take up security control there, is really not ready to do it. So they'll move in gradually. After they move in, and if the ceasefire holds, then more Israeli troops will pull out until this withdrawal is complete in about 60 days.
You know, Netanyahu kept mentioning, too, kind of the bigger picture of all of this and how this particular decision today could also impact other talks with other regions, specifically Hamas in Gaza. What did you make of that? Did you make that he's intending to try to reach some sort of agreement in that region?
Well, that would be the logical next step, because you've quieted one front where Israeli forces, have been bogged down really for a while now, including ground forces that are there. And also the Air Force has been bogged down on bombing in Lebanon and in Beirut, as well as what's going on in Gaza. So he said he hopes that this will now isolate Hamas that rules Gaza, and that they will be more prone and open to making a deal that would see the release of about 100 Israeli hostages still held in Gaza.
You know, you brought up this earlier in our newscast about not everybody was in favor of a ceasefire deal. Can you explain why some folks didn't want this to happen?
Well, if you have your enemy on his back foot, and if you've inflicted heavy blows, there are a lot of people here in Israel who would like to finish the job, so to speak. They feel that Hezbollah has been damaged, but not destroyed. And so it's kind of like if you're in a boxing match, you want to see a knockout blow, and you don't want to let your opponent back up.
Now, I want to play for you this sound we got from the Department of Defense now reacting to the ceasefire talks and discussing the role the department could play if the deal is officially finalized. Let's listen in. I want to get your reaction.
Well, I don't want to get ahead of the process here. We are certainly very supportive of the ceasefire, and the Department of Defense plays an important role within our interagency here in the U.S. And on working with partners in the region to prevent a wider conflict. And so, again, Fadi, we'll keep you updated on it.
One follow-up. How do you see potentially the impact of this ceasefire on what's been happening in Gaza in terms of the war, in terms of the potential famine and in terms of the deal over ceasefire and the release of hostages?
Sure. And this is something that Secretary Austin has talked about quite a bit, is that for a while we've seen diplomatic means as key to enabling both Lebanese and Israeli citizens to returning to their homes on both sides of the blue line. And so that's probably the most significant, as well as just the simple fact of reducing the amount of violence that we're seeing and the destruction and death on both sides of the border. So I think that is probably the most prominent. Certainly, we still want to see a situation in Gaza where there's a ceasefire so that we can increase the flow of humanitarian assistance and restore a sense of stability and security in that region and see an end to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. And so a lot of potential good could come out of this ceasefire. Let me go to the phone here real quick. Jeff Schogel, Task and Purpose.
Thank you very much. Have there been any attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq and Syria?
All right, you're watching the press conference there with the Defense Department there at the Pentagon. Robert, reacting to Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to the folks in Israel. What was your reaction to that statement by the Department of Defense?
Well, the U.S., of course, has been pushing for a ceasefire in Lebanon for a long time. So this is obviously in the U.S. interest that this ceasefire would hold. Now, the U.S. and France and Britain are going to have an overseeing role here to see that the ceasefire is actually implemented, because Israel is concerned, obviously, that Hezbollah could try to make its way back into South Lebanon. And of course, it's also supposed to withdraw its forces. We talked about the Israeli withdrawal. Hezbollah is supposed to move up to the Litani River, which is about 18 miles north of the Israeli border. So the U.S. Plays a very important role in overseeing this conflict or this ceasefire, and in implementing it. And the Israelis say if the U.S. says there's a breach, that they have a right to retaliate.
Robert Berger, thanks so much for sticking with us and for breaking that down for us. We'll check back in with you, I'm sure, a little bit later. Thanks so much.